Bonanza, one of the most iconic Western television series in American history, captivated audiences from 1959 to 1973 with its unforgettable cast and compelling tales of the Cartwright family. On screen, it was a world of adventure, brotherhood, and justice in the Old West. But behind the scenes, a much darker reality unfolded, a series of tragedies that would haunt the lives of the stars who brought these beloved characters to life. The very faces that once brought joy and excitement to millions would later be consumed by cruel fates. Some battled relentless, incurable diseases, watching helplessly as their bodies deteriorated day by day. Others met sudden and shocking ends in tragic accidents, their deaths shrouded in mystery, leaving behind unanswered questions. Some were crushed under the weight of loneliness and the pressures of fame, sinking into despair and ultimately choosing to end their own lives in the most heartbreaking ways. Each star, once shining brightly in Hollywood's golden era, eventually faded into sorrowful memory, their stories filled with both triumph and despair. Join us as we retrace the final footsteps of Bonanza's cast, revisiting their lives, their moments of glory, their silent suffering, and the heartbreaking tragedies that marked their ends. Lorne Greene, born on February 12, 1915, in Ottawa, Canada, was best known as the strong and wise patriarch Ben Cartwright on Bonanza. His deep, authoritative voice and commanding presence made him the perfect choice for the role of a father who guided his three sons through the trials of life in the Old West. But off-screen, his life was not as idyllic as the Ponderosa Ranch. Greene was a man of immense dedication to his craft, and his long working hours often strained his personal relationships. He was married twice, first to Rita Hands, with whom he had twins, Charles and Belinda, and later to Nancy Deal. His second marriage brought stability, but his relentless work schedule kept him away from home for long periods. Beyond Bonanza, Greene continued to act, starring in Battlestar Galactica and other television roles, yet his final years were shadowed by illness. In 1987, he underwent surgery for a bleeding ulcer, but complications led to pneumonia, which ultimately took his life on September 11, 1987. The once powerful figure of television was reduced to a frail, suffering man in his final days, and his loss left a void in Hollywood and in the hearts of his devoted fans. Harry Holcomb was born in 1906, a man whose face became a fixture of American television, though his name rarely stood out. In Bonanza, he portrayed Dr. J.P. Martin, the dependable town doctor who tended to the wounds and woes of Virginia City's residents. Off-screen, Holcomb was a man of quiet dignity, but his life was marked by a career that never quite soared to the heights he had dreamed of. His work in film and television was vast, yet he remained trapped in the realm of supporting roles, always just outside the limelight. His personal life was much the same. He married, he loved, but deep inside, he carried the unshakable weight of unfulfilled ambition. Time was unkind to him, and as the years passed, the roles grew fewer, the phone calls stopped coming, and the industry moved on without him. In 1987, he passed away, his death barely making a ripple in Hollywood's memory. The man who once gave life to the town's healer faded away, leaving only whispers of his presence in old, forgotten reels. Troy Melton was born in 1921, a man whose rugged presence often graced the screen in the shadows of the more famous stars. Though he never held a starring role, his contributions to Bonanza as a gunman, blacksmith, and various other background characters made him a familiar face to devoted viewers. His career was built on playing tough men, cowboys, outlaws, and lawmen. Yet behind the camera, his own battles were much harder to win. A quiet man, Melton struggled with the weight of a Hollywood that often overlooked him, leaving him in a constant state of professional disappointment. The strain of never truly breaking into the limelight took its toll on his spirit. In his final years, loneliness and declining health became his only true companions. He passed away in 1995, his name long forgotten by the industry he gave so much to. The world moved on, barely noticing the absence of a man who had once stood in the dusty streets of Virginia City, waiting for the next scene that would never come. Bruno V. Soda, born in 1922, lived a life marked by passion and heartbreak. His robust frame and expressive face made him the perfect choice for roles like bartenders and rough-hewn town folk in Bonanza, but his talents extended far beyond those fleeting moments. He was a director, a writer, and a man who longed for recognition that always seemed just out of reach. Off-screen, his personal life was no less turbulent. His relationships, though intense, often ended in sorrow, leaving him to grapple with the ache of love lost and dreams unrealized. His health suffered under the weight of disappointments, and by the time he took his last breath in 1976, it was as though Hollywood had already turned its back on him. He died too soon, his name slipping into obscurity, his contributions forgotten by an industry that had never truly embraced him. Dan Blocker, born on December 10, 1928, in Bowie County, Texas, was the gentle giant of Bonanza, bringing warmth and humor to the role of Eric Haas Cartwright. Towering at 6 feet 4 inches and weighing over 300 pounds, he was an imposing presence, but his heart was as big as his frame. Off-screen, he was a devoted husband to Dolphia Parker, his college sweetheart, and a loving father to their 4 children. Despite his success, he remained humble, never allowing Hollywood to change the kind-hearted man he was. However, fate was cruel to him. In May 1972, Blocker entered the hospital for what was supposed to be a routine gallbladder surgery, but complications arose. A post-operative pulmonary embolism cut his life short at just 43 years old. His sudden death shocked his family, friends, and fans alike. The Bonanza cast and crew were devastated, struggling to continue the show without him. His absence left a permanent void, and the series soon came to an end. His wife and children were left to navigate life without him, carrying the pain of his untimely loss for the rest of their days. Michael Landon, born Eugene Maurice Orowitz on October 31, 1936, in Forest Hills, New York, captivated audiences as the charming and impulsive Joseph, Little Joe Cartwright. His boyish good looks and emotional depth made him a fan favorite, but behind his dazzling smile lay a childhood filled with deep pain and trauma. His mother, Peggy O'Neill, was emotionally unstable and made multiple suicide attempts, one of which Landon himself had to prevent. The emotional scars of his upbringing haunted him throughout his life, influencing his relentless work ethic and sometimes turbulent personal relationships. He married 3 times, first to Dodie Levy Fraser, then to Marjorie Lynn Noe, with whom he had 5 children, and finally to Cindy Clarico. His marriages were often marred by infidelity and controversy, with his affair with Cindy leading to his divorce from Lynn Noe. Despite his personal flaws, Landon had a golden touch in Hollywood, starring in Little House on the Prairie and Highway to Heaven, projects that reflected the warmth and family values he longed for in his own life. In April 1991, he was diagnosed with inoperable pancreatic cancer, a brutal disease that consumed him rapidly. Once a symbol of vitality and boundless energy, he became frail, his body deteriorating as he fought against time. He passed away on July 1, 1991, at just 54 years old, leaving behind a grieving family and millions of heartbroken fans. His death was a cruel irony. He had spent years portraying fathers who guided and protected their families, yet he himself was taken from his loved ones far too soon. Ray Teal was born on January 12, 1902, in Grand Rapids, Michigan, destined for a life that would see him become one of Hollywood's most prolific character actors. His rugged appearance and authoritative presence made him a natural fit for westerns, and he spent decades portraying lawmen, outlaws, and ranchers. Though he appeared in over 300 films, including High Noon, 1952, The Best Years of Our Lives, 1946, and The Day the Earth Stood Still, 1951, it was his role as Sheriff Roy Coffey on Bonanza that left the deepest imprint on audiences. As Virginia City's steadfast lawman, Teal's portrayal was one of wisdom, patience, and unwavering moral strength. Off-screen, however, Teal remained somewhat of an enigma. His private life seldom made headlines, and he carried himself with the quiet dignity of an actor who never sought the limelight. Despite a career that spanned 5 decades, he never achieved leading man fame, often playing second fiddle to Hollywood's biggest stars. His health began to decline in the 1970s, and on April 2, 1976, he passed away at the age of 74. His death was quiet, his departure from this world met with little fanfare. The sheriff of Virginia City, who had upheld justice on screen, slipped away into the shadows, a man whose contributions to film and television were far greater than the recognition he received. Pernell Roberts, born on May 18, 1928, in Waycross, Georgia, was the intellectual and brooding Adam Cartwright, the eldest son of Ben Cartwright. Unlike his on-screen character, who found stability within the Cartwright family, Roberts was restless, often clashing with producers over the show's lack of realism and depth. His dissatisfaction led him to leave Bonanza after just 6 seasons, a decision he would later describe with mixed emotions. Though he found success on stage and later in the medical drama Trapper John, M.D., he never fully escaped the shadow of Adam Cartwright. His personal life was equally tumultuous. He married 4 times, searching endlessly for a love that would last. His only son, Chris, from his first marriage, died in a tragic motorcycle accident in 1989, a loss that left Roberts devastated. Despite his strong will and defiant nature, even he could not fight time. In his later years, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, the same merciless disease that took Michael Landon. He spent his final days in quiet suffering, fading away from the world on January 24, 2010, at the age of 81. Though he had spent much of his life trying to move beyond Bonanza, in the end, it was the role of Adam Cartwright that fans remembered him for, a legacy both a gift and a curse. Phil Chambers was born in 1916, a man built for the small moments that gave life to television's golden age. On Bonanza, he played store owners, everyday men who stood in the background of grander stories. And yet, in his own life, he was anything but background. A dedicated actor, Chambers worked tirelessly to carve out a space for himself in an industry that often saw him as just another face in the crowd. Off camera, his journey was lined with struggles, professional frustrations, financial instability, and a personal life riddled with quiet disappointments. His family life, though seemingly stable, was marked by distance, as his pursuit of a dream that never fully materialized kept him from those who loved him most. By the time he reached his final years, the world had all but forgotten him, and his passing in 1975 came with little fanfare. The man who had once stood behind the counter in a bustling frontier town was now gone, leaving behind only silent echoes of his work in the vast, indifferent expanse of television history. Victor Sin Young was born on October 18, 1915, to Chinese immigrant parents who struggled to build a better life in America. Despite the hardships of racial discrimination, he pursued an acting career, making his mark in Hollywood at a time when roles for Asian actors were scarce and often limited to stereotypical characters. He gained recognition as Jimmy Chan in the Charlie Chan film series and appeared in classics like The Letter, 1940, alongside Bette Davis. However, his most beloved role was that of Hop Sing in Bonanza, the dedicated and spirited cook of the Ponderosa Ranch. While his character brought warmth and humor to the Cartwright family, Victor's own life was filled with struggles. He faced significant career setbacks after Bonanza, finding himself largely forgotten by the industry he had served for decades. Despite being an accomplished cook and even authoring a cookbook, financial instability loomed over his later years. In 1980, tragedy struck when he was found dead in his North Hollywood home, having succumbed to accidental carbon monoxide poisoning from a faulty gas heater. Even in death, the cruelty of fate persisted. His body remained undiscovered for nearly 2 weeks. The man who had once brightened television screens with his charm and energy died alone, his passing a somber reminder of Hollywood's indifference to those it once embraced. David Canary was born on August 25, 1938, in Elwood, Indiana, with a talent that would take him from the football fields of college to the bright lights of Hollywood. Though he had a strong athletic background, the call of the stage was too powerful to ignore, and he pursued a career in acting. He became widely recognized for his role as Candy Canaday in Bonanza, the rugged and dependable ranch foreman who became part of the Cartwright family. But his career was far greater than just one role. He later became a soap opera legend, earning 5 Daytime Emmy Awards for his unforgettable dual portrayal of Adam and Stuart Chandler in All My Children. Yet, for all his professional success, David struggled with the weight of personal battles, which he largely kept private. His later years were marked by a cruel and devastating decline, as he suffered from Alzheimer's disease, a condition that slowly stripped away the memories of a life so full of achievement. The strong, commanding presence that had once graced both primetime and daytime television faded into silence. On November 16, 2015, he passed away in Connecticut at the age of 77, leaving behind a legacy of remarkable performances, but also the sorrow of a mind lost before its time. The man who had once been the heart of so many beloved characters slipped away, his final years spent in the fog of a disease that robbed him of the very identity that had made him a star. Bing Russell was born on May 5, 1926, in Brattleboro, Vermont, and though he was never the leading man, he built a career as one of Hollywood's most recognizable character actors. As Deputy Clem Foster on Bonanza, he was the ever-reliable lawman who kept order in Virginia City, a supporting figure who quietly held the town together while the Cartwrights took center stage. But Russell's passion extended beyond acting. He was deeply in love with baseball, even owning and managing the independent minor league team, the Portland Mavericks, a team known for its scrappy underdog spirit. His Hollywood career included roles in films like The Magnificent Seven, 1960, and Tombstone, 1993, and he was a familiar face in countless television westerns. Though he lived a full life, there was an ache in the shadows. His place in Hollywood remained on the periphery, forever a second-tier player in an industry that often overlooked its hardest-working actors. He was the father of actor Kurt Russell, who would go on to achieve the kind of fame Bing himself never quite grasped, a bittersweet reality for a man who had dedicated his life to the craft. On April 8, 2003, he succumbed to cancer at the age of 76, the disease slowly taking the vitality that had once made him a force both on screen and on the baseball field. In the end, he was a man who had given so much to entertainment and sports, yet his departure was met with little of the recognition he deserved. His name faded from Hollywood's memory. Even as his son carried the torch of fame, he had never quite been able to claim for himself. What do you think about the deaths of the actors from Bonanza, and who do you miss the most? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to watch the latest videos.